All right. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of my Infinite Playlist. And this is where I'll talk about my music collection, whether it be on vinyl, cassette, or compact disc. For tonight's episode, I'm going to be talking about my love for Paul Weller, The Jam, and Style Council. I think I was in I think I was in grade seven when I first came across The Jam. And oddly enough, it was a song titled Batman, where this three-piece outfit did their version of the Batman theme, the TV series that starred Burt Ward and Adam West. So I thought it was amusing. I thought it was pretty cool, but I really wasn't into them yet. And I recall when this record came out, um, The Gift. This is actually their last album, and this is my original record that I bought a long, long time ago as a kid. And I saw the reviews for this particular album, and it wasn't their traditional style in how the Jam was making their music. There was a lot more brass, and there was a lot more funk into it. So I bought this, and I do remember where I bought this. I got it in Hong Kong, and there. So I remember when I played this, I was just I fell in love with the record. By the way, I absolutely fell in love with the record, and Happy Together, Ghost, Precious, Circus, and of course, Town Called Malice, which was the big hit from this album. And I didn't know it was going to be the last album of the Jam, but I loved it. And, so this was like a prize acquisition back then when I was in seventh grade. And I didn't hear of the Jam or Paul Weller until a bit later because, this is the pre-internet age. And if you wanted to find out any news, music news in particular, you read Jingle Magazine, you read Rolling Stone Magazine, and or there was Flexipop also, Flexipop, which was a British magazine. But it's hard to read Flexipop because it wasn't that serious. They put in a lot of humor, and I just wasn't a fan of that stuff. I only read Flexipop for the flexi discs that they put on each and every magazine. So I preferred Cream and, of course, Rolling Stone. Um, I did say that Flexipop had this bizarre sense of humor, but so did Cream. But the writing was way better in Cream magazine, way better. So that attracted me a lot to Cream. It was my favorite magazine, much more than Rolling Stone. So, but of course, Jingle. You know, um, so I did not hear from the Jam again or Paul Weller until this song. Uh, Let me see right here. Until this album hit, and this suddenly Paul Weller re-emerged with Mick Talbot of Dexys Midnight Runners to form the Style Council, and this is the American version of that album. And my ever-changing moods hit the American Top 40, and that was the time I was really listening to the American Top 40 every week, every Sunday on DWRT 99.5 RT. So um, my ever-changing moods, the faster version, the funkier version hit the American Top 40. And if I'm not mistaken, it was there for about 2 weeks in the top 40, then it dropped off. But the sound was again different from the mod Northern Soul of Wild Gift. This one was more of a throwback. There was a lot of jazz there. There were a lot of influences from American music in Cafe Blow or My Ever Changing Moods, which was the American version. And I recall I on another trip to Hong Kong, I was able to buy this, and this is actually no, sorry, this one, Cafe Glow, the British version. And yes, this is the original one that I bought back then. And I listening to Cafe Blow, there was a lot of jazz in it. There was a lot of bebop. There was lounge music in here. There was even a little bit of rap. And this is amazing because I thought that what the Style Council was doing back then was the precursor for acid jazz. They were doing a lot of stuff, especially by their second album, Our Favorite Shot. They were doing a lot more stuff that just wasn't being done at the time. So when I played this record and I kept playing it and playing it, I just absolutely love the record. And there's a song here on this album, Mixed Blessings, the first track of side one. They actually used that as the intro for Going Bananas, which was like a local sitcom there. But to be honest with you, I didn't like it because I felt that it devalued the music of the Style Council. And I have no idea if the people in Going Bananas were into the Style Council, but I was kind of offended by that one. But this was such a great record. The Paris Match, the Style Council recorded it with Tracy Thorn and Ben Watt of Everything But the Girl. And I thought it was such a beautiful song. And the French influence on this music, on the music of the Style Council, really forced me to really dig deeper. And I know that my dad has 78 RPM records of Edith Piaf, the French chanteuse, and chanteuse singer. And I started to play it, and I was getting into a lot of other stuff. And I thought it was amazing that I was able to backtrack. It's not that I did not hear this music before, but I looked at them in a different light because my dad played a lot of these records from James Brown. He played a lot of R&B, a lot of soul music at the time. And one of the popular television shows at the time was Soul Train. And later on came Solid Gold, where they played a lot of R&B, rock, new wave, of course, some old soul stuff and all that. So for me, it was a great time for music because I was just really expanding my taste. My taste buds were just really all over the place now. I started out as a really 70s rock fan. I was into Kiss, which was my first favorite band ever. Then I got into Led Zeppelin. I got into Deep Purple, Queen, Aerosmith, AC/DC. Then, of course, Van Halen. I was Van Halen's debut album absolutely scorched me. So I was into that stuff. And a lot of it changed when I first heard punk rock being played on ECRJ. And then I remember there was this full page ad that came out right in the frontispiece of Billboard magazine. It said the B-52s are coming. And I was like, what's this? I had no idea what the B-52s were. And then that year, one of my best friends, Heck Garda, came back from the States with a copy of the B-52's debut album and just blew me out of the water just listening to that record. And I knew I had to get my own copy. But by then, as we got into New Wave then, and of course, I got into the Style Council. Technically, they're not New Wave, but they were lumped along with that New Wave batch. Essentially, New Wave is like that British wave, that second British wave that's in America. But it's loosely used to connote the rock's answer to disco. But not all the bands that came out during the time were doing danceable stuff. Maybe remixes of U2 would have that dance element. But for the most part, there were a lot of bands that were also lumped into that new wave movement, but technically were not really danceable. And the Style Council was in a certain way, but there was a lot of jazz and French music in their music. And, this album, as I said, Café Bleu, it was just an incredible record for me. And at the time, it was very difficult buying records. I had to go abroad to buy them. Or if I chose to look for the imports, they were kind of costly over here. I recall in Odyssey in Green Hills, they were selling imported records for like 125 pesos. And back then, records were like 24 pesos, 45 pesos, 48 pesos for a double album. So I recall New Order's first single was on sale at the Odyssey branch in Shopsville in Green Hills. It was like 120 bucks. And that was a lot of money back then, really a lot of money. Couldn't afford it. That meant like I had to save for about 3 weeks and more, not buy any comic books or anything else. And that was just difficult. But so then I also had to wait for my friends to go abroad, and I would ask them to buy something. My uncle would come back to the Philippines and ask them to buy something. So it was tough. And I also had to rely on local releases. So I didn't hear again of the Style Council. I have a lot of the records now, but after Cafe Blow, I wasn't even aware of the singles that were coming out, and I had to wait for this one. Hold on a second. This is our favorite shop, and the American version, which is titled Internationalist. Okay, but this is the one that I got, and if the first record was very influential for me, music-wise, this was much more because this really opened me to James Brown. And I felt that there was a lot more like the origins of acid jazz in this music. I mean, I'm not saying that they originated that music or they invented that music, but they were certainly doing a lot of stuff that I only later heard on during the acid jazz movement. And yeah, this is a great album, and I thought that I love the gatefold. I thought it paid homage to a lot of things, and I just tried to like decipher, okay, who's here on this album, and like Al Green, stuff like that. So I just tried to figure out. Of course, you had the Beatles and all that here on the cover, like A Hard Day's Night. So I tried to figure out. I guess these are all the band's influences. So I was just looking into it. You see pictures of French actors like Alain Delon. So, and Alain Delon back then was kind of popular. So there, and this album wasn't as easy to digest as Cafe Blow for me. Because it started out with the somber Homebreakers and All Gone Away, which is another slow one, then Come to Milton Keynes, which was faster, but still, it was like a protest song. In fact, I wondered that Paul Weller wrote a lot of really great songs, but the reason why some people can say they're super big classics because a lot of them were protest songs and they were highly political. And it's rare that you have these political songs that become massive worldwide hits. There, of course, there are, but not much in terms of the Style Council. And Shout to the Top was one of the big hits on this album. The Lodgers, there. So those are the big ones on this one. And I really love The Lodgers, but perhaps my underrated track here is Down in the Scene. And I love the fact that Weller was singing some lines in French. And this was just such a massive record for me because it was pushing the envelope. Like I said, my dad would play a lot of old records and old music, but and I liked it. I really did. Of course, it was uncool to actually admit that you did like that stuff in school. You were not supposed to admit that to your friends because you were all into rock music and new wave and punk. So it was uncool to tell them that you actually listened to or liked Frank Sinatra and all that music. So that's what happened. So I still wasn't getting any of the remixes because I wasn't aware of them. And I remember as I was heading into college, one of my closest friends in this world, she was supposed to be my classmate. Uh, she was supposed to be my classmate that year, but uh, she she went to the University of Michigan to study for a while, for a year before coming back to Ateneo. And I did ask her to get me a record, and it's this one, Home and Abroad. This is the Style Council Live. Technically, it's not a studio album, but it's technically their third uh, full-length release. And I just love this record. I really do. And because when I got Cafe Blow, it contained the slower version of My Ever Changing Moods. I wasn't able to get the American version, which contained the faster, the more up-tempo version. And in Home and Abroad, it featured the faster version, faster live version of My Ever Changing Moods. And I thought it was really great, you know. So um, this is the record. And it's absolutely cool because this is my old record, and you see some brown spots over here, but there's a little discoloration because I've had it for a while. But more or less, it's in great shape, and you know, I just love this. I was a freshman in college when I got this record. I got this together with Prefab Sprouts, Two Wheels Good, the American version, and I got Sting's The Dream of Blue Turtle. So I got those three records all at the same time. And it was so great because, like I said, Style Council was opening me up to a lot of other stuff. And at the same time, Prefab Sprout, with Paddy McAllen, he got me more into Burt Bacharach and Hal David. It's not like I didn't hear it from my dad, I did. But knowing that Bacharach, among others, were massive influences on Paddy McAllen, I got into Prefab Sprout. So there. Okay. So I had a small collection then of Paul Weller albums, whether it was the Jam or Style Council. And then I recall on another trip to Hong Kong, I got this one. I got this at Stanley. There was a record. There were a bunch of record stores there, and I didn't know that they had a new album out. But I was looking for Style Council records, and I found this one, The Cost of Loving. This is the other cover, but I only got this later on, so this is what I had. And here, when I listened to the song Walking at Night, it reminds me of Al Jarreau. I thought that their sound is changing. If the earlier albums paid tribute to a lot of the 40s, 50s, and 60s jazz, French music, R&B, and all that. This one had more contemporary music. It didn't hit me as much as the earlier albums, but I liked it. I still liked it. I still liked it, and you know, I was really into Paul Weller's music at the time. In fact, if I were to name my 5 musical heroes, Paul Weller would be in the top 5. So I got this. And then during the CD era, actually I was unaware of Confessions of a Pop Group. I was unaware of this, like I said. At the time, there was no internet, so you didn't know. And I wasn't able to get that. So the next time I came across the Style Council was during when CDs were starting to become more popular, and I saw this on compact disc. In fact, I bought it at Musicland in Alimol for 375 pesos, and I still have that CD. I have that original CD that I bought at Musicland in Alimol, and I was just really happy to have that record, that CD, because I had not heard about this band for a while, so there were more songs that I did not hear. And the one thing I liked about the back of this record is that they put next to the songs the covers of the respective singles, and I thought it reminded me of Wings' Greatest. They also did the same thing, so I thought that was pretty neat. As someone who really likes to look inside and read all the liner notes and read everything right down to the etchings on the grooves, on the run out portions of the records, this is amazing. So I didn't get the LP until a little bit later. So I got the compact disc. Um, but I was aware of the old stuff. I was aware of the singles that were coming out, but like I said, it's just so difficult to get them. And I recall when Cafe Blow, when I bought my copy of Cafe Blow, it came with a booklet. It came with a booklet that had a lot of the writings of the Cappuccino Kid, who is actually Paolo Hewitt, uh, who took the thoughts of Paul Weller and wrote it in his own distinct style, and which he later did for Oasis. And I thought that the way Paolo Hewitt did the liner notes, it's just so incredible. It was so inspiring. Actually, there was a time that I wanted to really write like Paolo Hewitt, and yeah, uh, I was writing like Paolo Hewitt, like all this weird stuff and all that. That's how much of a big influence he was in terms of my writing back then. And I just wanted to write the perfect song that sounded like a Paolo song, but I couldn't. I couldn't because he had all these other political issues that he wanted to write about, and that just wasn't me. Wasn't me. So there. So, but the booklet, and I still have that original booklet. I remember we went jamming in the studio in Rosses, and one of my friends said, "Can I have the booklet?" I said, "No, you can't have the booklet. The booklet's mine." And I didn't know if I was ever going to get a copy of that again. So, but in the back of the booklet contained all the covers of the 7-inch and 12-inch singles, and I wondered how I'd be able to get all that stuff because back in the 80s and the early 90s, you just didn't know where to get all the stuff unless you went abroad. I'm sure that if I lived in the UK and the US, I would have seen all these 7 and 12-inch singles. But here in the Philippines, you just had to rely on what they released, or unless you went abroad. So it took a while, and I was already working, and I had now the purchase power to go and backtrack. But before I talk about the Style Council, I'm gonna go back to the jam. Yeah, the jam. So okay, I'm gonna pull up my records of the jam here, and so I started backtracking and getting a lot of the stuff, and um, I've got far too many windows open right now. Okay, all the mod ones. This is like the original pressing. We got this. It's the American pressing. Setting Suns. I was able to get this. And this is the British copy. The sound effects. And yep, this is the American copy. And this one I only got much, much later on EP, Absolute Beginners. And of course, you already know about this. I talked about The Gift. Such an amazing record. I absolutely love this record. And there are a couple of more albums from the jam that I was only able to get much later. Um, Beat Surrender. I also have this on 7-inch. It's like two 7-inch records in one. So I also have that version. And then this one, the Jam Collection. And Snap, of course, but This is not complete because it doesn't contain Batman. The CD contained the complete one, so but this doesn't have it. So obviously, I also have the CD version of Snap, and there. So that's I have also some of the represses of the Jams records, and but you're not going to see it here because I'm just showing my original pressings for all this stuff. And then now, because I had the purchase power, now I could go back and really get a lot of the Style Council's records. And this is the mini LP, their debut mini LP, introducing Style Council. And this is a beautiful EP. Long Hot Summer, Head Start for Happiness. Speak Like a Child, The Paris Match, Mix Up, and Merry Go Round. At Paris, I have obviously this is 12-inch version. The 7-inch version is a different cover. That cover actually appears in the booklet of Cafe Glow, and I have it. And I also have another one over here. This is like a DJ mix of the same thing at Paris, and yeah, I have it as well. So this is pretty neat. But I put it aside because I've been playing that record. Okay, here's another one of those 12-inch singles. But I have to say something about it. I'm not the type to get 7-inch singles for 12-inch singles for my favorite artists. I only get a 12-inch version if I absolutely like the song, like in the case of Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I got this. In fact, I have three versions of this. Three versions. So, but I don't have for the others. I have the Seeds of Love for Tears for Fears, but I don't have their other singles. Not even Pale Shelter, which I absolutely like. The Style Council is the one artist outside Rancid, American punk band Rancid, that I try to have every single release that they have. I just love these two bands so much. I try to get everything. It used to be U2, but I don't have a collection of their 12 inches or their EPs. It's just their studio albums that I have. Of course, they've added a few since then, but not like the Style Council or Rancid, where I gotta collect everything. Okay, so you saw this already, Cafe Glow, and here's my ever-changing moods, the American version. But this is like a promo copy, and I do have three versions of this, to be honest with you. Um, Grooving. This is the You're the Best Thing, single for You're the Best Thing, and the Big Boss Groove. Check out the artwork in the back, drawn by Kent. That's Paul Weller on top and Nick Talbot down there. Um, Here are the American versions. No, well, this is the British press. Actually, I have two of them. Can you believe that? I have two of them. All right. And here's the Shout to the Top. There are two covers for Shout to the Top, the 12-inch single. I don't have the other one. This is what I got back then. I'm trying to get the other one. And you've seen her favorite shop. Okay, so let me get the rest. Here, Internationalists. All my Paul Weller records occupy just one niche in my record rack. Okay, that's how big a status it has with me. Yeah, this one. Lodgers featuring Daisy Lee, and I thought that she was a huge addition to the band, as was Steve White, the drummer, and it's just great, great, great record. And this is first in Japan. Mhm. Okay, here's another 12-inch single. Walls Come Tumbling Down. It's Nick Talbot on the cover. Okay, it's got the whole point, part two in the B side. The 12-inch single for The Boy Who Cried Wolf. This one's also pressed in Japan. It's got the club mix of When You Call Me. At first, again, I got that in the Home and Abroad live album. Okay, another version of The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Like I said, I'm trying to be the completest. Have You Ever Had It Blue? Also pressed in Japan. And you saw this Home and Abroad. The Cost of Loving, the orange cover, or the orange album, as they used to call it. This is made in England. Okay, Japanese press of the American version of The Cost of Loving. Um, another 12-inch single. And this is pressed in the UK. It's got It Didn't Matter. And all year round. So there are only 3 tracks on this album. This is 12-inch single of Heavens Above from The Cost of Loving. I like that song because the band sort of cuts loose with Daisy Lee on lead vocals. Wanted. I love this cover, even if it's just text. I just love it. You know. I'm not going to be showing my 7-inch collection of the Jam or Style Counts or Paul Weller. So these are all the 12-inch versions. Okay, Waiting. 12-inch single Waiting. Confessions of a Pop Group. So this was a weird album, and I thought that with The Cost of Loving, their music was just really changing. There's a lot of doo-wop over here, a lot more lounge influence, and I think they were headed towards a more house sound, house music. My favorite track here is "It's a Very Deep Sea." I just think it's a great song. You know. Life at a Top People's Health Farm. Okay, one of those EPs, and how she. This one's How She Threw It All Away. I have 3 more to show. Promised Land, the 12-inch single for this song. It's a club mix. And of course, we've seen this, the greatest hits, and as I understand, there's a new greatest hits package coming out. When see, there were several that came out, and I have every single greatest hits album that they put out on CD though. Okay. So this one, I have also the CD version. I have two copies of that one, the original that I bought, which I played to death, absolutely played to death. And this one is the Council Collective because they were playing with other people. And this is not really part of the Style Council official discography, but since it contains them and other musicians, I just wanted to get this as well. So there. And let me see if I can find some of Paul Weller. I have more Paul Weller CDs from his solo career than his then the LP version will be fine. When I was working with Universal Records, we had Pony Canyon, and Pony Canyon released Paul Weller's solo albums. Uh, I still have my original copies of his original releases, and they're all pressed in Japan. As you all know, Pony Canyon is a Japanese label. So I got this one, his solo album, his debut. I first got this on compact disc from Pony Canyon, including the one that came after. And so I was only able to get the repress for this later on. And Kind Revolution, which came out about 2 years ago. So I don't have too many of his solo albums on vinyl. I do have them on compact disc. There, maybe I should, but it's kind of costly. I'm trying to complete first my Style Council and Records of the Jam. But for the Style Council, there are a lot of 7-inchers that I need and 12-inch records that I need to complete. I roughly have around 32, 33, including the LPs. There are a few others missing, definitely, and I'm going to track them down eventually. So there, when I show my 7-inch records of the Jam and the Style Council, I'll do that because I'll do when I do a video about my 7-inchers, has to be a totally different episode. But to this day, I admire Paul Weller, absolutely do. I love that he was on Oasis Champagne Supernova, where he did the guitar solo on Champagne Supernova. And I'm just a massive fan of him. Yes, and the next time I go to England, I plan to look for him and hunt him down so I can get a photo with my hero because he's getting in on the years, and just want to tell him what his music has meant to me all these years. But in terms, speaking for myself, the Style Council were a massive, massive influence on my musical taste buds because while I was aware of what my dad was playing, I got into it on my own terms because of the Style Council. I got into Northern Soul because of the Style Council and Paul Weller. In the Jam, of course. And it fueled my my love for acid jazz. In fact, I have that album, Talbot White, where they collaborated on an incredible album that I absolutely love. And here, so I even had a single of it, DC, a solo DC song, but I don't have it anymore though. I'm gonna try and get it back eventually. So there, Paul Weller. For those, if you notice my handle on Facebook, it comes with the Cappuccino Kid. That's a direct nod to Paolo Hewitt and to Paul Weller. That's how much these guys mean to me. And for those who were my office mates before, you would have noticed that all my USBs and all that, or even my file names, all start with Notes from the Big Chair, which is obviously a nod to Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair. So those two records were really big for me in the 80s, but they're not alone. There were a lot of really great records then. But as you can see, like to this day, a lot of my files are titled Notes from the Big Chair, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on and so forth. And my handle is the Cappuccino Kid, right? At least for Facebook. So there. Yeah, I remain a Paul Weller fan, and I just wish I could complete my collection of all this music. There's a lot that I need to acquire. I'll get around to doing that eventually. It's just so much out there to collect also. And I once had a life-size Stanley of this one, and I have no idea where it is. I remember I got it from Pony Canyon. So it was supposed to be on display for record stores, and I did put it on display, but after a week or two, I pulled it out and brought it home. So, but I took care of it. I stored it. I stored it pretty well, but it's one of those things that is largely unprotected because you can't put it in your room, and eventually it got destroyed. So I think um, since it was cardboard, I know that some termites got into it as well. So they ate into it. I was just so depressed. I remember throwing it out. You know, so I think more than ever, I'm more in tune now with making sure that my collection's all safe and all protected. So as you can see, the records come in plastic and all that. Unlike others, they're resealable. I don't want to use their resealable because every time you open and close it, it affects the integrity of the record. I know that the open-ended ones allow some of the dust to come in, but as long as it's protected, it shouldn't. So there, and I want the records to be able to breathe because if it's unable to breathe, you don't know what. There's a certain smell and all that. So yeah. Um, so Paul Weller is one of my musical heroes, and along with Paolo Hewitt, they had a huge effect on the way I write. I'm and I make no bones about my influence from these two gentlemen. And I just love their music. It's something I can not get tired of listening to. And I still play my ever changing moods every now and then, both versions. But the faster version, the up tempo version, is still my favorite. There's a bigger appreciation for me for the jam nowadays than when I was in school. Uh, I just wasn't crazy about it that much then because I remember I was just so in love with the music of the B-52s, the Ramones, the Pure, and later on the Smiths. So the crude nature of the sound, the raw sound of the jam, it wasn't something I fully appreciated until much later, and I was well into my adult life. So there. I hope that you enjoyed watching my short video about Paul Weller, his bands, The Jam, the Style Council, and his solo career. And there. Okay, let's see who's watching. James T, my colleague in media, is watching from the US. Yes, I saw that video of Kurt Smith singing Mad World with his daughter, but um, yes, Shout at the Top was also used on Big Show. Thanks. And it's good to know that you're also a style counsel. A good colleague, a friend of mine who's also a colleague in media, Francis Ochoa, is watching. Hey, Francis. Uh, Tan, thanks for watching, Tan. Ivan Guerrero, who I'm working with in uh, Hall of Justice, the podcast. Yeah, he's watching. Some of my students from Pampanga are watching. Thanks for watching. But this is me rambling about records and music, so I have no clue if you guys know what I'm talking about. One of my favorite students, Jackie Tolentino, who does a lot of podcasts herself, she's watching. And thanks for watching, Jackie. I don't know if I'm boring the hell out of you. Carlos and one is also watching. Um, Kurt Fresca. Thanks for watching. And some people who I don't know are also watching. So MJ Cruz is also watching. Thanks for watching, MJ. So there. That was my short video where I was just rambling about my love for the Style Council, the Jam, and Paul Weller in general. Again, he's one of my musical heroes to this day, and it has stood the test of time. Oh, if you're asking who are my other heroes, it's John Lennon and Paul McCartney. I love them as well. And there are quite a few others, but let me just say that for now. And in the next in an upcoming episode, what should I talk about here? I'm going to talk about my OPM collection. Um, if you want to see my records over here, yeah, it's a Twisted Red Cross flag here that I've had for quite some time. Okay, these are my OPM records. Yeah, I'll do that for another episode. There used to be a lot more, but that's all I have left. So it's three of them. So roughly, I'd say there are about 150 plus records there. OPM, and that's not counting the 10-inch and 7-inch records, and not even counting the cassettes and compact discs. So my compact disc collection for local bands is probably gonna run up to about 800. Yeah, yeah. That's another interesting show for another time. So let me see if there are any more questions there. Raquel, good evening, Raquel. Thank you for watching. Let me reboot this because maybe the it isn't coming out right. Let me see. That's an okay. No, it's pretty much the same. There. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna do the OPM thing tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good night. Bye bye.